You cling to life like a rebellious teen resisting curfew, but death is patient, and so am I. Hello agents, and welcome to another Division 2 build video. Today we will be looking at a new status effect DPS build that puts out disgusting levels of damage, and it's made possible by the new gear in Title Update 10. Because this is the first guide I've seen on this build, it is my responsibility to ask everyone who watches the video to not abuse this build right now. It's in a perfect place for PvE and high level content, but as you will see, it can be exploited in PvP while the hazard protection is not necessarily in the meta. For the sake of myself and for other PvE players, please don't bully agents in the Dark Zone with this build to the point that they'll be nerfs outside of only the PvP damage from Ubisoft. So getting into the build, it's going to be made up by 4 Eclipse Protocol Gearset pieces, the new named exotic mask called the Vial, and 1 piece of Golan to achieve the 1 piece brand bonus that we need. So there are 2 main things we're looking for in weapons for this build. First, we need a weapon that can enhance our status effect damage or duration, and for this I've equipped the Everlasting Gaze to increase my status effect damage by 50% on headshots. And as a secondary, I have the Firestarter to make burning targets more efficient. Secondly, we're going to look for a gun that can deal some firearms damage while we're within our close range, and I prefer the Sweet Dreams to do easy damage and to get free melee kills. So the system this build uses to output damage to status affected targets lies in the Vial mask. Its talent called Toxic Delivery automatically triggers a damage over time effect to every enemy you've given a status effect to, and this scales off of explosive damage and your status effect rolls. So as long as you continue to apply status effects to as many enemies as possible, they'll keep dropping like flies. The attributes are locked into skill haste and hazard protection, but make sure you try to optimize the status effect roll with your exotic components. The only way to get your first drop of the Vial mask is to reach level 90 in the Season 2 rewards tracker, and then right after that, the blueprint for reconfiguring will be available in the base. Because we need to stack status effect for the Vial mask, we will run 1 piece of Golan to get the brand set bonus. You can either have this in the knee pad, the holster, or the glove spot, depending on what your best available item is. Just be sure that you get a max status effect roll on it, and skill haste is another attribute if possible. After that, our remaining 4 slots are going to be dedicated to the Eclipse Protocol gear pieces. You'll get 1 attribute on each of these because of the gear set bonus. That means we're only going to be looking for 1 max status effect roll on every piece. Since it's only 1 stat to reroll, you'll never need another copy of these pieces, and you can find these drops in the gear set targeted loot, or you'll get them from the Season 2 rewards tracker as well. So the reason the Eclipse gear set is insane for this build, aside from the status effects, skill haste, and hazard protection bonuses, is the 4-piece talent. Whenever an enemy dies who is status affected, that status effect passes on to all enemies within 15 meters of that enemy, and for half the total duration. In turn, the effect of the Vial mask will also apply for damage over time. This synergy is further boosted by the backpack, which amplifies all of your damage to status affected enemies by 15%, and the Chestpiece, which increases the range of transmission and the length of time the status effect will last for after it transfers. So with a max 10% status effect roll on all 6 of your gear pieces, the 10% Golan bonus, and the 15% Eclipse bonus, you will have an 85% status effect boost, Plus you'll get a 50% temporary damage boost from the Everlasting Gaze after you've done a headshot. So some of you may be asking how we get the status effects started without a trauma chest piece on this build. It's going to be with our skills, of course, and my early testing suggests that the Explosive Seeker Mine and the Firestarter Chem Launcher may be the two best options to start with. The Explosive Seeker is great at dealing high damage to a single target and bleed them to get the transmission started, and the Firestarter is great for getting as many enemies status affected as possible. Usually damage mods are the way to go, but Skill Haste is a good alternative when you're modding these two skills. Here's a look at the stats section of the build. If you need a refresher on any of the weapon or gear talents, just pause the video whenever they're hovered. And as far as specializations go, there's really only two options that you should look at. You can either choose the Firewall loadout, which will give you a 20% increased burn duration and the extra burst of fire when you lose your armor. But if instead you want to maximize the damage over time effect from the Vial, you could go for the Demolitionist, who gets the bonus explosive damage, as you can see right here in the concussion grenade value. Here's an example of the normal skill cycle on the hardest targets available at the firing range to show how crazy the damage output is. After this clip, there'll be some other moments from day one of testing in the light zone and the dark zone against players, so stick around for a few moments to see those. I tried to make this build video shorter for you guys, but if I left anything out or you have any other questions about my builds, including the Matador, please just let me know in the comments below, and thank you all for watching, agents. tell you I don't have skill, but what I do have are a very particular set of builds. Builds I have acquired over a very long career. Builds that make me a nightmare for people like you.